This is your USMNT Abroad weekend update from September 19th to September 21st of 2025. Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Tactical Manager TV. And welcome to the US Men's National Team Abroad series, where every single Monday we update you on how the Yanks did abroad over the weekend. Now listen, I don't have much to say before we start the episode besides one thing. Every single week that goes by, we are closer to the 2026 World Cup, which is obvious. It's a really stupid thing for me to say because everyone knows that, right? Every second that goes by, we're closer. But why am I saying this? Because the closer we get, the more these episodes matter. Why? Because the closer we are to the World Cup, the more it matters simply due to the fact of who's playing, who's scoring, who's having good performances, who's getting minutes, who's on the bench, who's healthy, who's injured. All of that matters more the closer we get to it. And this is exciting. We're almost there in the 2026 World Cup, which sometimes we can take this for granted, but think about it for a second. This is the biggest moment in U.S. men's national team soccer history. And I know it's been quite disturbing over the past few months, but this is big, and we are all living it right now. And that's all that I have to say. Don't forget to drop a like in this video if you haven't already. Help us hit 1,000 likes and put a random comment in the comment section down below to help us rig the YouTube algorithm. And you can put whatever you want, but try to put something U.S. men's national team related. I don't know, put up maybe video suggestions or where are you from? Are you from Detroit? Because the people from Detroit got angry at me this weekend. I'm not going to talk about that right now. Maybe in a live stream. Roll the intro. Let's play the episode. Okay, as always, we start with the Americans in the Italian Serie A, the top division in Italy. Now, this week I actually saw a beautiful picture of Italy. I think it was Lake Como, and there were many other, the Amalfi Coast. There are beautiful places. It's a beautiful country. What I don't understand is why in the late 19th century, Italians, with all that beauty that they had, they were just like, yo, I'm out of here. I'm gonna move to Rhode Island. That's a true story. I didn't make that up. Nevertheless, let's start with Christian Pulisic from Milan. And on Saturday, Pulisic started and played 63 minutes for Milan during their 3-0 win over Udinese. And Christian Pulisic was the man of the match. It's not even debatable. He was subbed out early in the 63rd minute because the game was over. It was 3-0 and there was no reason to keep him on the field. The 3-0 win was all Christian Pulisic. I mean, the guy scored 2 goals, got an assist, helped create chances, helped defend. He was the most fouled player in the game, getting fouled 3 times. He took some hard hits. He took some very nasty hits, actually. And he did all of that while carrying some dead weight called Santi Gimenez. It's pretty much like that Walter White and Jesse Pinkman relationship where Walter cooks all the meth while both of them collect the profits. In this case, you know, Pulisic gets Milan the win and Santi Gimenez collects the profits of that. Now, the first goal, Christian Pulisic started the play, crashed the box, and scored off a rebound after a Pervis Estupinan cross down the left. Now, the assist was a nice hustle play from Pulisic where he kept pressure on the defender until he forced the giveaway or the turnover, and the ball landed with Fofana in the box that scored the second goal for Milan. Last but not least, Pulisic scored his second goal in the game with a very strong right-footed finish in the box. One can argue that the goalkeeper probably should have saved it, but Pulisic struck the ball very hard. It was a very strong shot. It was a tough save. He continues to be Milan's most consistent, effective, and best player this season. It's also not even debatable. He was the man of the match. No one can argue that. He was incredible this weekend, and the big reason why Milan pulled this win, and they also didn't have Rafael Leão, so Pulisic had to become the man of this team, as it should be. Next up, we have Yunus Musa from Atalanta. And on Sunday, Musa was back on the bench for Atalanta, and he was only subbed in the 87th minute, even though they had a 3-0 lead for the entire second half. Now, if you watch the USMNT Abroad midweek recap, you would know why he was likely benched. It was because Musa dropped a massive stinker during the midweek in their Champions League game. Now, it was against PSG, but it was a terrible performance. Next up, we have Weston McKennie from Juventus. And on Saturday, McKennie actually stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Juve during their 1-1 draw with Verona. Maybe 0 minutes was a bit harsh, but it was expected for McKennie to go back to the bench with Cambiasso not being suspended, and after his mediocre, I would say. It wasn't poor, but mediocre performance in the Champions League during the midweek. Last but not least, in Italy, we have Ben Cremaschi from Parma. He also stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes, and he hasn't made his debut yet for Parma. And he will be in the U20 World Cup, which means he'll miss like 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks of games. He might only make his debut in October. That's if he ever plays for them. Just saying, I'm rooting for the guy, but it was a weird signing. I didn't expect him to go to the Italian Serie A, and I think he'll struggle if he plays, but yeah, hopefully it works out. And if he makes his debut, it'll probably be late October. Okay, time to go to England and talk about the Americans that play in the Premier League. The first one being Chris Richards from Crystal Palace. And on Saturday, Richards started and played the full 90 minutes for Crystal Palace during their 2-1 win over West Ham. Richards had another spectacular performance. Dominant in the air, perfectly timed tackles. He was also not at fault for the 1 goal they conceded. Richards and Crystal Palace's defense have been incredible to start the season, and that's why they're doing so well. Next up, we have A-Rob from Fulham. And on Saturday, Anthony Robinson didn't even make the bench for Fulham, unfortunately, and that's due to his knee. And this is what their coach had to say, or Fulham's coach had to say. We're giving him time. He needs to be fully fit to be the player he's been in the last 3 to 4 seasons. After the surgery, which he had a knee surgery by the way, it's taken more time than we expected. He will have more minutes soon. Let's see if tomorrow or in the Carabao Cup we can give him some minutes. And just so you know, A-Rob had knee surgery back in May, and his recovery has been dragging on for a bit, I would say longer than we expected, and he's likely out of the USMNT October camp. But don't worry, we have Arfston. Okay, I'm joking. The thing is, it's better for them to take it easy with A-Rob because we want him healthy for the World Cup. So even if it takes another 4 weeks, let it be. Let him be fully fit, fully recovered from that knee surgery. Knee injuries are nasty, so I'm okay with this. And next up, we have Tyler Adams from Bournemouth. And on Sunday, Tyler started and played the full 90 minutes for Bournemouth during their 0-0 draw with Newcastle. And last week, someone said I didn't talk much about Tyler. But again, there isn't really much to say. All I'm going to say is he was great once again. Defensively, he's been incredible all season long. His man marking has been quite remarkable. In possession, he keeps playing it safe, as he should. I don't have much more to add besides to say that he has been great in almost every single game so far. He's one of the reasons why Bournemouth is off to a hot start this season. I don't know how many more details I can add to that. He's been very good. Last but not least in England, we have Brendan Aronson from Leeds. And on Saturday, Brendan started once again for Leeds and pretty much played the full 90 minutes because he was subbed out around the 90th minute for them during their 3-1 win over Wolves. And I watched this game, but I probably won't really do it very often because it's kind of the same as always. Brendan Aronson works hard, helps the team, but he's very ineffective. He's definitely not out of his depth. He's fine in the Premier League, but I'm not going to say if you watch Leeds, you're not going to really see anything different from what you already have seen from Brendan Aronson. Again, he hasn't been bad. He just hasn't really been effective in the Premier League. If you put him in weaker leagues, he should be effective. Like if he's playing in the Dutch league, Brendan would be killing it in MLS. In the Premier League, not very effective. Now, before we continue, a quick word from the sponsor of this video, SoRare. Not because I need money for the Switch 2, I got that. Now I need money to buy games for the Switch 2. Otherwise, the console's kind of useless. Okay, we'll be back in 60 seconds. In the meantime, drop a like in the video. If you like fantasy sports, I got the perfect one for you. Tactical Manager TV is partnering up once again with SoRare with a special offer. Just use the link in the description of this video. In SoRare, you can collect your own virtual cards of your favorite players. But why would you want to collect virtual cards? Because you can line them up on 5-a-side games every single week, and if the players perform in real life, you can win real money, unique experiences, signed jerseys, game tickets, or even more cards to improve your club. And SoRare doesn't only have soccer, they also have the NBA, and they have also Major League Baseball. Unlike other fantasy games where it's pay per play, in SoRare you pay to get the players you want permanently as cards, and then you can play multiple times using those cards until the player retires. And if you are new to SoRare, you can sign up with the link in the description of this video with a special offer. You will get a 50% bonus in your first few purchases up to $300 spent, which means if you use the link in the description and you never bought cards before, you will get 50% as credit up to $300 spent. So if you spend $300, you get $150 in credit. Essentially a $150 welcome bonus. Thank you very much, SoRare, for partnering up with Tactical Manager TV and sponsoring the channel. Okay, we're back. Thank you very much for sticking around. Now we're going to go talk about the Americans in Germany in the Bundesliga. And the first one would be Malik Tillman from Bayer Leverkusen and then Gio Reyna and Scally from Borussia Mönchengladbach. Because this was the big matchup of the weekend. This was like the Rocky versus Apollo, Conor McGregor versus Jose Aldo, or Jake Paul versus any of the US presidents, right? Anyone that's over age 75. But unfortunately, it was very underwhelming. And on Sunday, Tillman started for Leverkusen and played the full 90 minutes for them during their 1-1 draw with Gladbach. Scally started for Gladbach and played the full 90 minutes, while Gio Reyna started off the bench and was subbed in around the 80th minute. Okay, so I said it was very underwhelming. So now let me tell you, how did the Americans do? And let's start with Malik Tillman. For a good chunk of this game, he played a bit deeper as a central midfielder, like an 8, even though he would push very high up the field in possession. Now, Tillman did score for Leverkusen. It was a nice goal, a very calm and composed finish, but I didn't like his overall performance. I didn't think he was great. He was very passive. He didn't really create anything with the ball. It was just very meh or underwhelming, as I said before. In terms of defense, he just doesn't have that bite with him, and they had him playing more as an 8 when they were on the defensive shape, and I would argue that's one of the reasons why their back line was very much exposed at times. But I guess it was an average performance from him. He wasn't terrible, and he scored a crucial goal, so I'm going to give Tillman a 7 out of 10. As for Joe Scally, he was actually quite good as a wingback. To my surprise, he had a few good moments on offense, even hitting 2 shots on target. On defense, he was actually heavily tested and he held his own for the most part. Despite not getting any goal contributions, I'm going to give Scally a 7.5 out of 10. I thought he was good. Now, Gio Reyna, he got 10 minutes off the bench. I don't have much to say there. He wasn't bad. He actually helped on defense at times, but he didn't have many minutes to do stuff, to make things happen. And Gladbach has a new coach, so it kind of sucks because Gio was coming off a weekend where he actually played well for Gladbach last weekend, despite the 4-0 loss. And then a new coach comes in, and then he was back on the bench and he only played 10 minutes. Now, let's not overreact. Let's still give it another 4 to 6 minutes before we hit the panic mode, right? As of now, let's just wait and see. Now, the other player would have been Cole Campbell from Dortmund. Cole Campbell stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes. I got nothing to say there. Noah Kai Banks, the young promising American center back that plays for Augsburg, he also stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Augsburg, so I got nothing to say there as well. So we're going to talk quickly about Christopher Lund from Cologne. And on Saturday, Christopher Lund also stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Cologne during their 3-1 loss to Leipzig. And this was actually the first game that he didn't play a single minute. Lund actually started the first 3 Bundesliga games, but for this one, he didn't play at all. Last but not least, in Germany, we have James Sands from St. Pauli. And on Friday, Sands started and played the full 90 minutes for St. Pauli during their 2-0 loss to Stuttgart. And look, people were telling me Sands was balling out in the Bundesliga, so I decided to watch him. And this was the first game I made an effort to actually watch him, and he didn't really play well. Just to keep things simple, that's what I'm going to say. He didn't play well this game. But again, it's just one game. Let me watch a few more before drawing any legitimate conclusions. But he also hasn't been playing as a center back. And even though he's been allegedly good in the Bundesliga as a central midfielder, if Pochettino was to call him up, I would like to see Sands playing as a center back in the back 3. Or at least as an option, right? Because we don't have much depth when it comes to the center back position. And if you're going to play a back 3, which seems like Pochettino will do that at times, and it actually seems like the better option for the United States, maybe, just maybe, you can call in Sands and test him as a center back in a back 3. He has played that position many times when he was in MLS. We'll see. Next up would have been Johnny Cardoso that plays in Spain for Atletico Madrid, but Johnny actually injured his ankle. And it's not a major injury, it won't require surgery or anything, but apparently it was a nasty ankle injury. So Johnny will be out for a few weeks. He is questionable to be in the USMNT October camp, but from what I heard, he is likely out of the US men's national team October camp. The injury wasn't a good one. So let's leave Spain and go to France to talk about the Americans that play in League 1. The first one being Floating Balogun from Monaco. Now, Balogun stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Monaco this weekend, didn't get a single minute, and they got a 5-2 win. But there's also no reason to panic or overreact here. They played in the Champions League on Thursday, which is very close to Sunday. I think Balogun was just being rested, right? He traveled from the US, he played, then he played over the weekend for them, then he played in the Champions League. I think they were just resting Balogun. So with that said, don't overreact, wait, let's see what happens next weekend. If he's still on the bench next weekend, then sure, maybe he's gotten benched. But honestly, I doubt it. Then after Balogun, it would have been Tim Weah from Marseille, but Marseille plays PSG on Monday. We record this on Sunday, so you know the drill. Let us know in the comment section down below, how did Weah do against PSG? So we're going to talk now about Marc McKenzie from Toulouse. And on Sunday, McKenzie started and played the full 90 minutes for Toulouse during their 1-0 loss to Auxerre. That's 3 losses in a row for Toulouse and Marc McKenzie. Last but not least in France, we have Tanner Tessmann from Lyon. And on Friday, Tessmann started and played the full 90 minutes for Lyon during their 1-0 win over Angers. Tessmann scored the game-winning goal around the 65th minute. It was a nice left-footed finish from close range. Along with that, he was quite good. Tessmann has been great this season. He's truly having a breakout season, or let me put it this way, it's been 5 to 6 games. He's starting to have a breakout season. He's been great on the ball, the passing range has been tremendous, long shots have been good, defensive awareness, positioning. I mean, he's starting and being one of the best players for a top 4 team in France. What else do I have to say? His game has evolved quite a bit. Now, do you guys think that Pochettino truly believes that Sebastian Berhalter or Christian Roldan, either one, any of them are a better option than Tanner Tessmann? Do we really believe that Pochettino thinks that? Okay, now we're going to talk about the Americans that play in the Netherlands in the Eredivisie. Actually, we're only going to talk about the ones that play for PSV. And their names are Ricardo Pepi and Serginho Dest. And on Sunday, Pepi and Dest both started for PSV during their 2-2 draw with Ajax. So Pepi played the full 90 minutes and Serginho Dest was subbed out in the 69th minute. Nice. But how did they do? Unfortunately, not nice. Not great. They didn't play well. Pepi was barely involved. He only had 19 touches throughout the entire game despite playing the full 90 minutes, which was weird because PSV did have plenty of goal-scoring opportunities, at least from what I remember. It just felt like Pepi was rarely involved. As for Dest, he didn't really play well either. It wasn't his best game on offense, and on defense, he was actually very shaky this time around. He even conceded a penalty kick that led to Ajax's first goal. And if you go watch the play, it was just a silly tackle in my opinion. There was another PSV player right there on the Ajax forward. I don't think anything was going to happen from that play. It was just, I guess, a clumsy or dumb decision from Serginho Dest. Oh well, it happens. Now we're going to go back to England and talk about the Americans that play in the second division of England, the EFL Championship. The first one being Josh Sargent from Norwich. And on Saturday, Sargent started and played the full 90 minutes for Norwich during their 3-2 loss to Wrexham. The main problem was Norwich because they were just awful. And Sargent had the least amount of touches out of all players that played the full 90 minutes. Let me put it this way. Sargent wasn't great. He was meh. But Norwich was the legitimate problem. They couldn't get the ball up top. And they just had another terrible game. So that's all for Sargent. Now let's talk about Haji Wright from Coventry. And on Saturday, Haji started and played 85 minutes for Coventry during their 0-0 draw with Leicester. It was a bit of an odd weekend in the championship where neither Haji or Sargent scored. Actually, that was the first weekend of the season where this has happened. Next up, we have Damian Downs from Southampton. And on Saturday, Downs actually started. He actually started for Southampton and he played 62 minutes for them during their 3-1 loss to Hull City. Caleb Wiley, still injured. So now we're going to talk about Aidan Morris from Middlesbrough. And on Friday, Aidan Morris started and played the full 90 minutes for Middlesbrough during their 2-1 win over West Brom. With this win, Middlesbrough actually continues to lead the championship with a 4-point gap to the second place team. Now, there are plenty of games to be played, but it's looking likely that Middlesbrough will fight for a spot in the English Premier League. George Campbell also played for West Brom in this game. I don't know if you care, but I'm just telling you. Last but not least, we have Ajiman from Derby County. And on Saturday, Ajiman started off the bench and was subbed in at halftime for Derby County during their 1-0 loss to Preston North End. I didn't really watch him, but let's just put it this way. Apparently, he played well. It's just that he's not really on my priority list of players to follow. But you know what? I'm going to try to catch some of his championship games because, at least according to the Derby fans, Ajiman looked good. I'll believe it when I see it. But let's say that they got my curiosity and my attention now. Now I'll try to follow along and see how he's doing. I hope he does well. I just don't believe it. Alright everyone, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like before you go so we can hit 1,000 likes and that random comment in the comment section down below to rig the YouTube algorithm. That's all for today. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day.